Thank you for joining us for this look at the best original reporting from KPBS News this week. I'm Amitha Sharma. Coming up, the military's involvement in Top Gun Maverick and the recruitment strategy that relies on Hollywood. Public accountability collides with private communications. The use of a popular encrypted app raises ethical questions, and the perfect fit. See the local technology advancing 3D printed prosthetics for amputees. Yet again, a national debate is raging over gun control after the deadliest school shooting since Sandy Hook. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado shows us some of the local student-led walkouts demanding change.
Students at San Dieguito Academy High School walked out of class today to protest gun violence. They also honored the 19 students and 2 teachers who were killed by a lone gunman on Tuesday at a Texas elementary school. Those who participated in the walkout, like Joy Rupert, say they're scared this could happen at their schools.
Even though we weren't directly affected by this, we are still students and we are still staff who see this happening on the news and are worried that one day, and quite possibly with an open campus, that could happen to us.
Students at San Marcos High School participated too.
This is a really, really tough week, no question about it.
Superintendent Andy Johnson says they understand this is a difficult time for students. They allowed students to take time out of class to gather, share their feelings, and honor the victims.
The kids sat down in the quad. They had a couple of speakers who expressed their concerns, expressed their condolences for the victims in Texas, read the names of the victims, encouraged the kids to register to vote if they're of that age, and return to class. And it was very respectful and it was heartfelt, and I was very proud of the kids.
They weren't alone. Thousands of students across the country participated in the walkout. They were a part of the national event organized by Students Demand Action. The nonprofit is advocating for stronger gun control laws.
It's hard to process, honestly. I think we're all a little numb this week and hugging our kids real tight.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
They're paid to do the public's business, but more of their conversations are going private. A popular messaging app called Signal is being used by local government employees, and much of it cannot be downloaded or shared. KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregerser shows us how that sidesteps the public's right to know.
Just after noon on a Monday last June, 2 city council staffers had a text exchange. "So nice to meet you today. I'm shocked you're a campaign person," Jared Miller-Sklar wrote to Caitlin Willoughby. "I know I am young, but if I am following in your footsteps, that is definitely a great sign because you have done some great things," Willoughby responded. Then Miller-Sklar gave his junior colleague some advice. Download the messaging app Signal. "Def download Signal. It's preferable for me for communicating about campaign/work stuff, or, of course, just the tea," he wrote. The California Public Records Act says most communications about government business must be available to the public. So if Miller-Sklar is sending work messages via Signal, those messages are very likely public records. But when KPBS asked to see them, he said he didn't have any.
There should be policies in place preventing them from using Signal to conduct government business.
This raises bright red flags for Shayla Nathu, a lawyer with the open government advocacy group Californians Aware.
It's a means of avoiding disclosure to the public under the CPRA. It's like it kind of flies in the face of transparency and government accountability.
She's also deeply troubled by a Signal setting that permanently deletes messages after 30 seconds.
After they're deleted, there's no record of that communication on either the actual device or on a server. And that renders a search for public records upon request by a person such as yourself, it renders that impossible.
Miller-Sklar declined to do an interview for this story, but answered questions by email. He said people in his office do use Signal, but not for government business and not during work hours. However, in his text to Willoughby, Miller-Sklar specifically mentions work stuff, and he sent those messages just after noon on a Monday. Records show other staffers in Campillo's office also use Signal. They frequently wrote things like, "Just texted you on Signal. Yeah, I'll send it to you on Signal." Or once, putting this here to send on signal because, good Lord, this was wild. San Diego County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher's office also uses Signal constantly for communication about government business, from a staffer asking for the office key code to talking points for Fletcher's State of the County speech. Fletcher's office provided all those Signal messages in a response to a KPBS public records request.
They could have a clear, bright line which says if you're doing public business, do it on the public agency's own system.
David Loy is the legal director of the First Amendment Coalition. He's troubled by the widespread use of Signal by Fletcher's team, even though they are open about it. But he's even more concerned by Campillo's office.
The execution and operation of the Public Records Act does depend to a large degree on agency good faith, and the California Supreme Court presumed that agencies would act in good faith. And if they are not, that in fact, that undermines and defeats the purpose of the entire system of open government.
A bigger issue is the public wouldn't know about government Signal use without evidence like what KPBS obtained, emails and text messages that specifically mention the app. Nathu, with Californians Aware, joked it's like Fight Club.
I feel like first rule of using Signal as a public official should be don't mention that you use Signal.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
On a weekend for road trips, a new report is showing which car companies are sued most often using California's lemon law. John Carroll talked to one San Diegan about her own lemon horror story.
In California, the car and the trucks are king. Most of us have to own one to be able to live and work in San Diego. So what happens when you buy one of those and it turns out to be one of these? Just ask Claremont resident Kim Lane.
We came home one night, we were out in my car, and the truck was in the driveway, and the dashboard was lit up.
The dashboard on their recently purchased 2018 Dodge pickup, and they couldn't get it to turn off.
It happened again, and it happened again. And the last time it was in the shop, it was gone for 6 weeks.
The lemon law is just as important today as it was 40 years ago.
California's lemon law actually came into effect in 1970 under then Governor Ronald Reagan, but it was strengthened into the law we have now in 1982. Today, 3 nonprofit public interest research groups published a report showing which auto manufacturers were sued most often under the law from 2018 to 2021. Topping the list, General Motors, with 1 lawsuit for every 78 cars sold in the state. Toyota was sued the least, 1 suit for every 2,029 cars sold here.
The auto manufacturers constantly are attacking California's lemon law.
After buying a car that turned out to be a lemon back in 1982, Rosemary Shahan successfully pressured lawmakers to put more teeth into California's lemon law. She says the automakers that are sued the most under the law are the ones that try on a regular basis to get it repealed. But Shahan says lemon lawsuits are filed on less than 1% of the vehicles sold in California.
When you hear from auto manufacturers that there's too much lemon litigation, it should be taken with an enormous grain of salt.
Back to Kim Lane. She and her husband were eventually successful in their lemon lawsuit, but they had to hire a lawyer, and it took more than a year.
These auto manufacturers are taking advantage of this misfortune with people to punish them for speaking out. And that's not right. It's not fair.
John Carroll, KPBS News.
The long-awaited Top Gun sequel is in theaters this Memorial Day weekend, and with it, a renewal of the military's partnership with Hollywood studios. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh explains this important piece of the Navy's recruitment strategy.
On a sunny day at a Navy base near San Diego, Tom Cruise was on message.
It's a celebration of the Navy. It's a celebration of aviation. It's a celebration of the spirit, I think, of our country.
Tom Cruise was at Naval Air Station North Island for the premiere of Top Gun Maverick. Several scenes were shot at the base. Surrounded by sailors in front of the base theater, Cruise worked the red carpet. The megastar said he shares the Navy's high hopes for the long-awaited sequel.
Eyes on me.
Paramount paid the Navy more than $5 million. Much of the money was spent to retrofit real F-18 Super Hornets with cameras. Real Navy pilots do the flying, putting actors and the audience in the cockpit. It's part of a long tradition of Hollywood working with the military. Nick Cull teaches media and history at USC.
On the Pentagon side of things, they wanted to have the best of the U.S. military represented. And they knew that if filmmakers wanted to have tanks and aircraft carriers and aircraft featuring in their movies, they would be willing to concede certain aspects of creative input.
Though it can be tough for the Pentagon to live up to the Hollywood hype, Cull says.
Why can't we succeed in Iraq or Afghanistan? The difficulties of operating in these kinds of situations are underestimated when we have these fantasies of exaggerated competence.
I do think that the country knows that they're going to see a movie and they can make their own judgments.
Bob Newell directs the Navy's program that works with the entertainment industry. He says the Navy reviews the script to see if it upholds the values of the service, realizing fewer people have a direct connection to the military.
That has started to wane, and so people don't have, and communities don't have those connections that they used to. Everybody can't go out to an aircraft carrier, but everybody can go to a movie theater.
And the Navy could use a hit right now. The original film is legendary among Navy recruiters, driving up interest in naval aviation 10 years after Vietnam. Captain Kevin Ferguson was the Navy's technical advisor on the Top Gun sequel. Standing in front of an F-18 on North Island, he admits he became a pilot after seeing the original film in the 1980s. Ferguson flies for both the reserves as well as Delta Airlines. Commercial aviation has always drawn military pilots, and the competition for pilots, he says, is heating up.
You have to retire at age 65, so you do the math, you got a lot of people that are falling off the cliff there. And the airlines, all of them, did not necessarily plan in advance, and then COVID hit, and a lot of people, took early retirements and left. What we're left with now is a massive resurgence in travel demand, and not enough people to fill it.
Outside the premiere, a group of young sailors were waiting for the filmmakers. Some of them admitted they either hadn't seen the original or had watched it the night before. Seaman recruit Charles Poindexter used to watch the film with his dad as a kid.
My dad, he was excited. Oh man, you about to go see Tom Cruise? I was like, yeah, me and my dad, we played about it a little bit. It's like, oh, that's my favorite actor. I gotta get some pictures, get a whole lot of pictures.
Whether at the box office or the recruiter's office, we'll know soon enough whether the franchise can handle one last mission. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Here are some of the most read stories this week at kpbs.org. As you might expect, coverage of the school shooting in Texas is getting most of the attention. The story we had a short time ago, Claire Trageser's investigation on government use of the Signal app, is also among our most popular. And so is this story from Kitty Alvarado. She met with homeowners in the South Bay who believe they were duped into living near a landfill.
When Maryland couple Bob and Shirley Kurlowitz were thinking of buying a new home in the community of Ascaya and Chula Vista, they were excited to live out their California dream.
And it just seemed like a great community for us to move into.
Their only concern, the community would be nestled below Otay landfill. But Brookfield, the company they dealt with, put their minds at ease.
What about this landfill? And they said we would not see any trash. They work there full time. They've never seen trash. Occasional smells every once in a while, not too bad, just not a worry, basically.
That was back in 2018. Bob says Brookfield told them Republic Services would build a large screening berm so they would never see trash. They even got that in writing. Plus, they said landfill operations would completely stop in 2022. They were sold. The Samala Prado family were sold too.
And we ended up being so blessed by God.
Elizabeth Samala Prado and her family said they did their due diligence. And just like the Kurlowitz family, they were assured they would not see dumping. But both families say once they moved in and most of the community was built and the last homes were sold, their dream neighborhood changed.
The strange aromas at night, and yes, we did have like the firing sounds, and I was like, what was that? It's like a jet, or what's this going on here?
All night there's like these dinging sounds, and they send off fireworks to scare away the birds and stuff. So it's like sounds, smells, and sights all coming from that area.
This became their new normal, constant trash dumps in plain sight. So Bob took action, making calls and emailing Sales, Republic, or anyone from the city or county who might help.
It was like a game of hot potato because no matter who I talked to, we don't know anything about that. Go talk to this person, go talk to that person.
He and his wife even went to the landfill to personally confront management.
We were told that you guys would be out in a couple of years, and that's like, now, why are you still here? And they laughed and said, oh, no, we're going to be here for a minimum of 9 more years at our discretion. This is all our turf up there, and we can do whatever we want with it. So that's when I got a cold chill thinking, uh-oh, something went wrong here.
They were able to get a meeting with Mayor Mary Casillas-Salas, Steve Padilla, their district representative, and Republic Services. That's when they asked about the berm that was supposed to hide the trash.
Oh, well, the slopes are too steep now to build a screening berm. And I said, well, who made the slopes steep? You know.
They also worry about air quality and methane levels. In 2017, methane and other dangerous chemicals were found underground at the site. The builder addressed the issues, but it's unclear where things stand now. We asked for the latest numbers from Republic and the county. The county said they would get the latest emissions data as soon as possible.
The last time they did air quality was like in 2017, and that the only station that's actually checking the air is several miles away.
If there are soil issues, air issues, the quality of life issues being here, considering, again, we moved in, it's our first home for me and my husband, and we want to have children, and we looked at, wow, there's an elementary school here. I'm thinking about all the families here.
Bob says at this point, he would settle for work to move to the other side of the landfill where it would be out of sight.
I think just appealing to their being a better corporate neighbor would really be helpful, and then we could all just kind of be peaceful here.
He says he's speaking out, not just for changes for his community, but one that was recently approved by the city.
It's a cautionary tale for anybody that wants to, because apparently this new development's even going to be closer than we are. You can't build right up to the foot of a landfill. It's just insane.
We reached out to city leaders, including the mayor, Republic Services, and Brookfield. The city's public information officer told us they could not have the documents we requested in time, and no one responded to requests for interviews. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
We're roughly 10 days out from the California primary. In San Diego, one race will play a big role in how our city grows in the years ahead. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen takes a closer look at the city council candidates in District 2.
City Council member Jen Campbell assembled her supporters this week to tout one of her proudest accomplishments since taking office, a system to legalize and regulate short-term home rentals popularized by Airbnb. The issue had been at a stalemate for years, with hardliners on both sides. Campbell says she brokered the compromise.
We will close the chapter on the unregulated market that has vexed our city, our residents, and the good faith hosts who wanted a clear set of guidelines to follow.
The rules limit the number of full-time vacation rentals to 1% of the city's housing stock,
which will allow thousands of homes to come back onto our housing market and bring stability and normalcy and peace and quiet to our neighborhoods.
While Campbell is proud of the ordinance, her opponents in the race see it as a betrayal.
I'm just tired of not having responsive government or transparent government.
Mandy Havlick is an activist and member of the Peninsula Community Planning Board, where she's been a skeptic of growth and denser housing.
A lot of my background is in customer service, and I feel like that's something that's missing in the office. A lot of the issues with our current incumbent is, hey, I call, I have issues, and I'm not getting a response. I'm not getting a call back. And ultimately, we all want to feel seen and heard.
KPBS spoke with Havlick and 3 other candidates at a debate this week, which Campbell said she couldn't attend because of a scheduling conflict.
What kind of city are we giving my kids is the reason why I'm running.
Joel Day is a UCSD lecturer and former staffer in the mayor's office. He bills himself as the most detail-oriented candidate, with a short, medium, and long-term plan to tackle his top priority, homelessness.
We need safe encampment sites so that people get into the continuum of care and off of stoops and off of the streets. We need block leasing or master leasing so that the city directly can put people into units without security deposits, without credit checks, which are huge barriers of entry to rapidly rehouse people. And then finally, we need to build deeply affordable units.
Linda Lucas is a dentist, professor of dental hygiene, and a realtor. Among her top priorities is fixing San Diego's crumbling infrastructure, though she doesn't want to pay for those repairs with higher taxes.
A lot of us are being taxed out of the state, right? I don't know how much more of a burden
we can handle. So my goal is to look for alternative funding measures, seek the maximum we can from the state and from our federal governments, and only if we've exhausted all other resources, then we can talk about raising taxes.
Lori Saldana is a former state assembly member and retired community college professor. What sets her apart in the crowded field of candidates?
Most experienced, only other besides the incumbent who's represented these people in elected office.
Saldana ran unsuccessfully for Congress in 2012, mayor in 2016, and county supervisor in 2018. She says her record in the legislature shows she was ahead of the curve in supporting same-sex marriage and the ban on the open carrying of firearms.
So I think as the state changed, I really pushed on those issues, if not for me to get them through with my name on them, for others in future sessions to get them through.
District 2 is at the center of some hot debates in city politics, like how to redevelop the city-owned sports arena property in the Midway District, and how to update the Claremont Community Plan, which will change height and density limits in that neighborhood. The two candidates with the most votes in the primary will compete in a runoff on November 8th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
New for this year's primary is the KPBS Voter Hub. Customize your ballot to your address and learn about the candidates, voting centers, and drop-off sites. We also have a Spanish language version. Just go to kpbs.org and click on the Voter Hub link at the top of our homepage. Technology developed here in San Diego is providing a faster, more customizable solution for those who have lost a limb. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge shows us how 3D printing is making it possible.
Patients seeking care at an Ensenada hospital have lost limbs in many different circumstances, mostly through traumatic accidents or diabetes. And now they're getting artificial limbs that are made by a 3D printer from a startup company called Limber P&O.
This is the Limber Unileg. It is a single-piece prosthesis that is 3D printed in just half of a day. So you press start at the night, and you pull it off looking just like this in the morning, ready to go onto an amputee, allowing them to get back out into the world.
Joshua Pels is a PhD student of engineering at UC San Diego and a co-founder of Limber P&O. The company's artificial limbs are printed at a lab on the UCSD campus. He says their process begins with a scan of the lower body using an iPhone with Face ID.
We scan the patient from waist down. We take that scan data, we bring it in as a three-dimensional 3D model into the computer, and we basically build the whole prosthetic device around that scan data.
Another co-founder of Limber P&O is Herb Barrick, a prosthetist who's been creating artificial limbs for decades. Many years ago, he carved them out of balsa wood by hand. He says 3D printers bring a huge advantage to the creation of prosthetics.
It's precision. The 3D printer, the digital process allows us to be very exact. The digital scanner allows us to duplicate alignment.
One amputee who has used an artificial leg from the Limber company is Diana Zambrano, who lost her lower right leg in a traffic accident. She says using a new prosthetic limb is kind of like putting on new shoes. They don't always feel or fit right.
In this case, the Limber leg, I don't know if it's the technology or what it is, but the minute I wore it, I was able to walk very comfortably and wear it, for extended periods of time.
So far, the company is focused on creating artificial lower legs below the knee, but Pels says printing the knee joint is in the company's future. Limber P&O has had financial help from Rotary clubs in the U.S. and Mexico, who have funded the provision of artificial legs for patients in Ensenada. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
We wrap up the show with the perfect story for the unofficial start of summer. Jacob Era visited the reopening of the City Heights community pool that just got a big makeover.
2, 1. After a roughly 4-year wait, the City Heights Swim Center is back with a lot of improvements. The $4.6 million project began in 2018 and faced delays due to the pandemic. Some of the biggest upgrades include major renovations to the children's pool and main pool, as well as the installation of a new water play structure, slide, deck area, and drainage system.
What do you think of it? Do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me about what's your favorite part.
The bucket will goes down.
4-year-old Manny Vasquez came to the pool with his mom Janet, who was born and raised in City Heights.
It means a lot, actually, because, you know, growing up here, I didn't have this. So, you know, having my kids have this is just a blessing. So it just brings so much joy.
Vasquez says that she's already signed her 3 kids up for swim classes at the renovated public pool. The City Heights Swim Center will be open 3 days a week to start, Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. That's less than some other pools across the city. Swimming pool manager Ray Weber says that's because of staffing shortages.
It's been busy. Last Sunday I had to reduce, I was not able to let everybody in. We had to pause admission for a while until some people left because I just didn't have enough lifeguards to cover the pool safely.
Weber says they're trying to actively hire more staff to open the pool on other days of the week. Mayor Todd Gloria and City Council President Sean Elo Rivera were joined by San Diego lifeguards, city staff, and members of the community to officially reopen the City Heights Swim Center this morning. San Diego Fire Rescue Department Lifeguard Chief James Gartland says the renovated pool can save lives.
I look at this pool a little bit different. Many people look at it as a sense of joy where you can come and swim and cool off in the summertime. I look at it as a life-saving tool. Every person that learns how to swim in this pool is a life saved.
Weber says they currently have 4 lifeguards on staff at the City Heights Swim Center and are sharing lifeguards from other pools. Colina del Sol is another public pool in City Heights that's open twice a week. But Vasquez says she'll go out of her way to come to the newly renovated swim center, as she says the other space needs upgrades. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
A reminder, you can watch these stories and all of our content on the KPBS YouTube page. We also live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5 p.m. We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Amitha Sharma. Thank you for joining us.